You ain't gonna find wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling games collections here. Welcome, and today's video is all about retro gaming on a dad's budget. So what do I mean by that? Well, you see those videos on other channels where there's wall-to-wall video games, floor-to-ceiling, everywhere you look. They've got collections, consoles, expensive video games into the hundreds of pounds or dollars, really lavish collections. Well, that's fine. I subscribe to lots of those channels. They can do that. That's the way they want to do it. That's fantastic. More than happy for them. But not everybody can do that. But you can still, I believe, enjoy retro gaming. And if you're a dad, if you're a parent, you can still enjoy that retro gaming with your kids. And you can teach them about the history of those games as you go along. Now my collection at the minute is pretty small, and it's probably not going to get particularly big down the line. Even in the past, when I collected those games originally as a child, and in my early adult years playing video games, I tended to, with each console, I would have a collection no bigger than, say, 20 games, because I didn't feel that there was ever a time where I could sit down and play more than that. I wouldn't cycle through more than that sort of number of games. So I'd have like a core group of games, 20 games per console, and when I completed them or I got fed up or something else come out, I'd mix and match, swap, go and trade things in. But I tended to hover around 20 Mega Drive games, 20 Super NES games, 20 N64 games. That was the ballpark for me, and I think that's what I'm going to do moving forward with this channel and showing my kids retro gaming. I think that's what we'll be doing. So like with the Master System challenge that we're doing, we'll probably pick out 20 games, and we might mix and match them down the line. We might swap them in and out, but I think that will be the target. My PS3, a little bit different. I am collecting on a bit bigger scale for that at the moment. But I think down the line, even with that, I will probably work out the games from a backlog that I've not played before. Which ones do I want to keep? Which ones, now I play them, do I not like? And I will probably eventually narrow that back down as well. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't be put off by the really lavish looking gamer rooms. I'm sure those people that do that, they won't want you to be put off either. You can do this hobby on a bit of a budget. Set yourself a target, whatever you can afford, do it that way. The figure that me and the kids are aiming for at the minute is around about £20 a week. So I might aim to stay under that if possible, and I might go over it a little bit every now and again. But £20 a week is roughly where we're aiming for our retro video game collecting. Because at the minute we're looking for Master System and PS3. So that might be quite tight. Obviously video games have got more expensive recently in the retro market than they used to be, but by comparison to some hobbies, they're still fairly cheap if you're picking out certain games. Obviously you've got to avoid some. So yeah, £20 is roughly where we're going to be at, and for some of you that might seem like quite a lot every week, and for some of you that might seem ridiculously small, but that's within a budget that I feel comfortable with. Another reason why not everybody can have these lavish game rooms with massive collections is just practicality. I like many of you, I don't have the space for it. So we've gone for the retro corner, and I'm going to try and keep things in this sort of area as much as possible. So that's another reason to keep the number of games and consoles down. And speaking of consoles, that's a bigger expense, I suppose. So depending on which console you choose, you've got the initial cost, and then the games for those individual consoles can vary in price. Obviously the GameCube at the minute is quite pricey, so there are certain consoles that might be a good idea to avoid if you're on a really tight budget, or you might have to restrict even further your size of your gaming collection. But I still think it's a doable hobby, retro video game collecting, and I think as a parent it's still something you can have a lot of fun with, but don't feel the pressure. I guess the message I'm trying to get with this video is, don't feel the pressure. If you want to take part with retro video game collecting and you want to have fun with this sort of thing, as a parent, Don't feel the pressure to match those big YouTube channels with those massive expensive collections and gamer rooms. It doesn't have to be like that. My kids are loving doing this at the minute, and obviously we've not got anything lavish like that. So just bear that in mind. Don't feel like you are sort of selling your kids short or anything silly like that if you're not quite managing to put as much money into it as some other retro gamers do. Finally, I guess another way to look at it is if you are spending lots of money on modern video games for your kids, if you can convince them to get into retro gaming and show them the benefits of it, then they can have multiple games and still it not cost anywhere near as much as one modern game. So actually, budget-wise, it can be more economic to be into retro gaming, even though there's this thing going around as it's sort of skyrocketed in price, and people are being priced out of it, and it's not as cheap as it used to be, all that sort of thing. Just think about how much a modern video game costs. You can get an awful lot of retro video games and consoles for that sort of money, and enjoy a multitude of games instead of just one. So yeah, that's it. I just wanted to put this little video out there because as much as I enjoy, like you guys probably do, watching those videos and subscribing to those channels where they have got some amazing collections and you hear the backstories and how much they've spent on a certain video game and the special edition consoles they've got and the rows and rows of collected video games on the walls, they all look absolutely brilliant and I admire them for it in many ways, but it's not really for me that. I prefer to have a smaller collection and just enjoy the games, and I just want people to think that this can still be for them. Retro gaming is something you can get into. It put me off for a while. I think that's probably why I'm doing this video. For a little while I saw those videos I've been describing and it put me off starting this channel and getting the kids into retro gaming properly, because I was thinking, oh, I can't afford it, I won't be able to get the games we want and I won't be able to get the consoles we want, and they'll see the YouTube videos of other people and ours will just seem pathetic to them and they won't like it. Kids don't think like that at all. They just get involved with it, they love doing it, and I'm loving doing it, and I think you will too. So whether you do a channel or whether you just get into the retro video game collecting, don't be put off. Don't be put off. Go for it.